Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another video along with my previous video of 5 tips for beginning a studio on a budget. So what I'm going to do today with this video is give you 5 tips on how to begin with studio, just in general, because it's always a little bit confusing when you do first start off with studio. It's hard to know where to start, and I think that this video will hopefully help you guys out just with those first few tips to get started. So my first tip is for beginning studio photographers is choose models who are maybe not agency signed, so people that are not looking for really fabulous test shots for their portfolio or anything straight off. Try and get someone that you've worked with either before that knows you well, or maybe a friend or something, just to pose for you while you kind of get into the groove of learning studio. I found that's really easy to do. I used models that I'd worked with countless times before because they were really eager to help me out in that sense. So I just kind of said to them, look, I'd really love to do some more studio work and get that in my portfolio. Would you mind coming along for a test shoot? I'm sorry if it looks like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm really just kind of experimenting at the moment. And you know, if you know the person, then hopefully they'll be understanding and they'll be keen to give it a go. And also it kind of puts you a little bit more at ease when you're first doing your first shots in studio. If you've got someone there that you're photographing that you know, it's not as nerve-wracking as someone from a modeling agency who's expecting, you know, top-tier photos right off the bat. So try and get someone that you know, and that'll make you feel probably a little bit more comfortable in starting out with studio. My second tip is to stick to a really simple lighting setup, and this is another tip that I had in my previous video in starting a home photography studio. So it goes for if you're just starting out with studio photography, like anyway. If you can start off with a really simple setup, 1 or 2 lights is all you need. I usually only use 1 light because I feel like that's just a simple setup and it's easy, and it kind of allows you to experiment more just with 1 light at first, and then you can kind of build your way up and use other lights and other lighting modifiers even. So yeah, just keep it simple and remember that you don't need 20 different lights to make an amazing setup. My third tip is to start with a plain white or black backdrop. Now it's really easy to go for the most colorful or patterned backdrops out there. They look really cool and everything, but I think when you're first starting out, it's really good to practice just against a white or black backdrop, and then it allows you to kind of see where the light is falling a little bit easier, and you can kind of experiment a little bit more with that. I find that it's just a really good base to use instead of going for a really colored backdrop or something. You know, white and black is kind of just versatile and it's easy to use straight off, so I'd always recommend that if you're just starting out with studio. My number 4 tip is to always use a reflector if you can. Reflectors are great in the studio because I mean, and this can be a little bit hard to use sometimes because you're not actually reflecting the light that's there really. So once the flash goes off, the light will be reflected onto the person's face or on the body or wherever you need it to be reflected. But it really does work. It also helps with a lot of beauty shots and getting extra catch lights in the eyes that can make it look really nice as well. So yeah, definitely use a reflector. Silver, gold, white, it doesn't really matter. I usually find white and silver work the best. And if you can just use that, even if you can't really afford, say, a second fill light or anything like that, you've only got 1 light, it's great for bouncing that light back into the shadows of the photograph or filling in, you know, from the side or something like that. So that's great to have if you can't afford that extra light. Yeah, reflectors are great that way. And for my 5th tip, it is just to use simple lighting modifiers like a square softbox, because for one, they're generally going to be a little bit cheaper or a little bit easier to use even. Same with umbrellas for your kits. You know, if you've got umbrellas or square softboxes, they're usually pretty easy to use, and I would definitely recommend that over going through lots of different modifiers and getting confused on which ones to pick and how to use them. And I think it's just really a simple lighting setup to have, you know, a couple of lights, maybe 1 or 2 lights, and put some softboxes on them. That's a really good versatile setup that you can use. And really that's all I have at the moment. I will be planning on getting a few more modifiers modifiers once I'm more comfortable with doing more and more studio. I'm already starting to get quite comfortable with the studio work that I'm doing, but that's kind of going to come eventually. So it's the same here in this situation. If you're starting off with softboxes, it's going to be a little bit easier, and then you can work your way up to different modifiers and different lights and different lighting setups overall. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. It's not a very long video by any means, but I thought I'd just share a few tips. They do kind of link in with my previous video as well, so if you haven't seen that, maybe check that out, because I do show my studio setup in that video. And if you have any other tips, or you can think of any other tips that you might be able to share with people who are starting off in studio, feel free to share them in the comments section below, because I'm sure everyone that's starting out would love to hear them and love to see what you guys would recommend too. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!